Welcome to all. In this session, we will see the operators which are present in Java programming language. So Java provides a rich set of operators to manipulate variables. So it is not a new concept for you all. So being a third year students, I hope you have used almost 75% of operators in your previous semesters. It may be in C language or C++, or if you have gone for JavaScript or PHP, again you will be using so many operators. So here nothing special, but except 2-3 operators which are actually introduced in Java, and in the rest of the programming languages you may not find such operators. So we will deal with those operators as well in this particular session. So why you need operators? See, before learning any new concepts or any programming language, or it may be any technological informations, it may be anything. So before learning it, you should ask yourself that what is the use, isn't it? Why you are using operators? See, Java, if I ask what is the use of Java, definitely you may say to write a program or to build some application to perform something, isn't it? So why you need operators? Whenever you hear about the word operators, what actually comes to your mind? Anyone? So if it is a class, definitely I would have asked some examples, but now it is a video session. I have to give the answer for this question as well, I guess, isn't it? So ultimately everyone is writing the program to perform some task, isn't it? It may be to process the data, or it may be to store the data, or it may be to display the data, or to perform some operations, isn't it? To do all those things you need some operators. So that is the reason why I said operators plays a major role actually in any programming languages. Because say for example, let me take a simple example. So if you want to get the input from the user, after getting it you have to store somewhere, isn't it? You have to keep that particular value safely in some places. So obviously you will be using variables. So ultimately variables are nothing but it is a kind of memory location, isn't it? You are giving some name to that particular memory location, and you are trying to keep the data in that particular location. So you can fetch that particular data using the address. So in C, that is the reason why you go for ampersand symbol, isn't it? Ampersand followed by variable name. So that directly means that you are trying to target a particular memory location. It may be to fetch, or it may be to keep the data. Okay, so ultimately you require operators to do some operations on the variables. Okay, so there are some groups here. I have listed out something. Say something like arithmetic operators, relational operators, and bitwise operators, then logical operators, then assignment operators, and miscellaneous operators. Okay, MISC operators. Fine, let us see one by one. So arithmetic operators, see, you can see the list of operators which are available in Java. It is not a new concept here. Actually, I hope you have used almost all here, isn't it? So plus is nothing but for addition, you might have used. And not only for addition, actually string concatenation also used. No, you use plus symbol, isn't it? In Java, in C#, in JavaScript, if you remember that, in PHP, in some of the concepts, not in C and C++, but in rest of the some of the programming languages, you would have seen that plus is used for concatenation also. Concatenation means you are trying to keep two separate string, one by one or aside. Or if you want to do something like, say, if your name is Arun Kumar, so Arun is one word, and after that one small space will be there, and Kumar is one more word. So if you want to display those two words with simultaneously or in the same fashion, obviously you would require plus. You can directly keep that Arun Kumar with the double quotes, and you can print it. That is separate part of story. But if you want to go for separate values or separate word, or salutation, it may be anything. Okay, so at that time you might require that plus symbol. That is nothing but concatenating things. Okay, so not only for addition, you can do it for concatenation also in Java. Okay, next subtraction is nothing but normal mathematical operation. It is not a rocket science to understand here. So multiplication, it may be division. Why you need modulus? So if you want to get the remainder, isn't it, a remainder value if you want to get, or any say something like say 10 modulus 5. So ultimately you will be having, based on your requirement, you will be using modulus symbol, isn't it? So for example, leap year, if you want to calculate some leap year, in some of the programs you might have used this modulus thing. Next, increment and decrement concepts. So if you want to automatically, if you want to increase the number by 1 or decrease the number by 1, instead of going for 1, say for example I plus plus will be easier. In for loop also you might have used this I plus plus. That means in for the next iteration you have to increase that particular I value by 1. That is the meaning. Or I minus minus, or plus plus I, post increment or pre increment. So there are two separate concepts. So those concepts are here, nothing else. Actually in Java you don't have anything else with respect to arithmetic operators. So you have to concentrate on these things itself. So it may be say for example multiplication assignment. So after multiplying you have to assign, if you want to assign. So all these things are actually usually use all these operators, nothing else. So if you want, you can write a separate program for this so that you can visualize the concept. So if I get a chance to take you all to the lab, definitely I will give one program which will consist all the operators in Java. So that one program with all operators, so you can visualize how exactly it is working and what is the actual use of operators. Fine. So the next thing is, so there is one, actually this is a arithmetic assignment operator. So a small program I have given over there. You can see there is a class called op equals and the normal line, that main method line. So public static void main followed by some arguments. Then you are getting into the program. So there are 3 integer variables a, b, c, and what is the meaning of that? So you are trying to keep an integer value to the variable a. So a will hold the value 1, b will hold the value 2, and c will hold the value 3. Then after that, in the next line, what you are saying, say a plus equal to 5. What is the meaning? So you are trying to add that particular value, isn't it? A plus equal to 5, it is nothing but a equal to a plus 5, isn't it? So that is nothing but you are simplifying the actual instruction. So in the same fashion, b star equal to 4 means b equal to b star 4. What is the value of b? 2 star 4. So ultimately a new value will or after the calculation or after the processing, a new value will sit in b. That is the meaning. So in the next line, what you can see, c plus equal to a star b. What it will do? It is nothing but c equal to c plus a star b. So that is nothing but an instruction. So ultimately you are simplifying your entire instruction into smaller parts. That's it. Okay, then ultimately you will be printing out all the values a, b, c. Fine. So if you have the system, try to run these programs so that you can visualize how exactly it worked. Fine. So that is nothing but the arithmetic assignment operators. In the next slide, you can see the increment and decrement concept. So I'll initially a value will be 1, b value will be 2, and c is right now what it will hold, whether it is a junk or 0 or anything. I want you to check. So if you have the system, you can check. So in C and C++, junk value will be present, isn't it? So if you are not assigning any value to a particular variable, junk value. So if you directly go for printing that C, you may get some characters or you may get some value. So it is nothing but a junk value, isn't it? So you have one more variable D. In the next line you can see, so C equal to plus plus B, D equal to A plus plus. So it is a pre-increment, isn't it? First you have to increment the value, then you have to store. But in case of D, what you are doing, you are just incrementing, post increment. That means after that instruction it is getting updated. Fine. You are not updating the value in the initial stage. Next you are going for C++. Fine. So after that you are going to print the values. Fine. Now, so what will be the value? So see in the print ln statement, system.cout.println, in that statement, can you see that plus symbol? So I was talking about string and concatenation, isn't it? In the previous explanation I have given one example. What it will do actually? So it is going to print the value a equal to and the actual value of a. So ultimately, you cannot go for a comma or something like that. In C, you were doing the same thing, isn't it? After that percentage D in the double quotes comma followed by A or B, something you were doing in that programming language. But in Java, if you want to print some values, you have to go for that plus symbol, string concatenation symbol. So ultimately, that means Java considers each and everything which is present in a println function or method as a string. Isn't it? That is the reason why you are going for that plus symbol. Fine. So the output will be like, say they have given, say, output also. You can see the output. Say A is 2. Why A is 2? How A is 2 there? Can anyone guess the value why it is A equal to 2? Because we initialized A with 1, isn't it? Isn't it? How A become 2? Can you see A plus plus over there in the instruction? Can you see that in the third line? Obviously you are incrementing, isn't it? You have incremented the value A and you assign to D. That means automatically you are incrementing the value as well. So A becomes 2 there. And what about B? So are you incrementing or decrementing anything on B? Definitely you are actually incrementing the value B. So initially B was 2 and you are incrementing the B value with the 1 plus B. You are doing plus B in that instruction. Can you see? C equal to plus B. So obviously your value get incremented by 1. So what about C? Why C is 4? Because C, we did not even initialize any value to C. How it became 4? So initially C equal to plus B we have done there over there, isn't it? After that, so that means 3 actually stored in C in that instruction, in that code. And after that, after initializing the value to D, then again you have done plus C, or sorry, C plus plus. So that means 3 plus 1, so total 4. So C value is 4. Now D, you did not actually initialize any value to D over there in the third line, or after int D. Can you see the third line, or sorry, second line? D equal to A plus plus. So ultimately A plus plus will hold the value A1 itself, because in that particular instruction it will only keep the value of A. But if you are going for the next iteration, then only A value will be incremented by 1. That is the difference, post increment and pre increment. That is the actual difference. Fine. So if you have any doubt in this particular thing, I request you to execute this program. So just by seeing in the programming languages, just by listening to some explanations, or just by seeing the video, or just by seeing some example programs on the internet or any in the YouTube, you cannot learn actually. First you have to implement. So like first you have to try. First you have to code. It may be you can write the code on the page or paper, or you can directly start typing. If you don't have the requirements, or if you don't have the resources, then definitely you can write it down, and you can analyze the values, analyze the sequence. But if you have the system, it is well and good that you can execute the program. So if there are any issues or if there are any errors, you are going to get to know better, in a better way. Fine. So in the next slide, so it is a bitwise operators. So I'm not pretty sure that you would have used these bitwise operators, because in this level actually we are actually not using bitwise operators frequently. Why? Because ultimately when we usually used to deal with the numbers, it may be decimal number, octal, or sometimes hexadecimal, or minus, or anything as such. So we are actually not using binary values or bit values in the programming. But these are very important. See, when I was a student, even I used to skip this particular operator concept, because even I used to think, what is the actual use when we are not using the binary concept itself? Why we require all these things? Because the same concept, I am pretty sure that you would have read in the textbook of C++ also. In C++ also you have this bitwise operator concept. But we usually neglect these operators, but we should not, because Java also required to build some applications. Say for example, let me give one example to you all. Say you are building one hardware project. Okay, you are working on some flip-flops or LEDs. Okay, so consider there are 10 LEDs in a row, and first LED is glowing now. Now your task is to write a program to shift the light or LED, blinking of LED. So after every 2 seconds, the second LED has to glow. After the 2 seconds, the third LED has to glow. In that fashion, if you want to switch on the LEDs, you have to you would be requiring all these bit concepts. Why? Because ultimately bit is nothing but either 0 or 1. That is nothing but true or false, or on or off, isn't it? So whenever you are dealing with some electrical signals or these kind of projects, you require these bitwise concepts. Fine. So until unless you apply these concepts, you will never understand the actual use of this. So I'm not saying that with the same line of coding you can do all those LED concepts, but you require some circuits, you require some hardware resources as well. But once you get it, you can code for that, isn't it? So this bitwise operator plays a major role actually in a low level programming actually you require. So after these bitwise operators, you can jump to middle level programming, because these are the high end programming, isn't it? C++, Java, C# and all high level programming. So middle level programming like ALP, assembly level programming in microprocessor concepts and all, you will be maybe if you have the subject, you will be learning all those things. Okay, so that is nothing but playing with the registers. So registers are something like this that is the fastest memory present in the system. Okay, it is not RAM. Registers are the fastest memory available because it is very near to processor, and it will not have the size like GBs. In terms of KBs and all, it will be there maximum. Then after that cache, then after that RAM and secondary storage. So there are some steps. Based on that only the memory architecture will be there, and memory will be available for your system. Okay, you should not think like that now. As of now, we are dealing with the bitwise operators. We can concentrate on the bitwise operator itself. So first one is unary NOT. So if one is there, if you want to make it 0, then you can go for that unary NOT. You're just knotting the things. Next you can go for AND, or XOR. Next so these are the if you want to deal with the zeros and ones, and you can go for shifting the bits as well. Say for example, right shift or left shift. So right shift is nothing but you can take some number and you can use that. See, double greater than, isn't it? Or smaller than, what is it? It is greater than, right? So greater than symbol, double greater than symbol, and then you can go for number of values. How many bits has to be shifted. So in the end of this chapter, I can give one program to you. So I will show you in program, in code itself. Say for example, if you take the number 32, how you represent 32 in binary? It is something like 1 followed by 5 zeros, right? So it is 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Yeah, 5 zeros. 1 followed by 5 zeros. Isn't it? How to represent 32 in binary? So it is 1 followed by 5 zeros. Now if you ask me to shift 2 positions or 2 bits, say for example 32, that shift right symbol, double greater than, then if you write 2, then obviously you are trying to shift 2 bits at a time. For the right side, you are shifting the bits to right side. Obviously if you shift this particular 32 number which is present in binary, obviously you will get the output as 8. Why? Because you are shifting 2 positions. Now 1 will come under 2 to the power how much? 2 to the power 3 position value. I'm talking about the position value. If you have any confusion, take a paper and pen. Now represent 32 in using the position value. How to write the position values? Like, can you remember that CO concepts, computer organization concepts? 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 3. So there will be some position value. Based on the value you put 1, otherwise 0. Can you remember? Can you recall all those things? So you can take a pen and paper and you can represent 32 and try to shift 2 bits to right side. So obviously in the present stage it will be under 2 to the power how much? 3, 4, 5, maybe 2 to the power 5 is nothing but 32. So your 1 will be under 2 to the power 5. If you shift your bits to 2 positions to the right side, definitely that 1 will come under 2 to the power 3 position. That means 8. So 32 will become 8. Fine. So it is difficult to imagine. It is, you have to practically do it. So if I get the chance so if the labs or college or offline classes starts, definitely I will show it in a lab. Otherwise I will make separate video for this one, programming video. So I will upload it. You can visualize those things. As of now, think that bitwise operators also present in Java. Fine. The next thing is relational operator. So it is nothing big. So equal to, double equal to. You usually go for double equal to. In mathematics, you usually go for single equal to, but here you are going for double equal to. So it is nothing but equal to. So if you want to relate or if you want to compare, at that time you can go for this. So next one is not equal to, or greater than, or smaller than, or lesser than, or greater than or equal to, lesser than or equal to. All these operators are required for conditional statements, isn't it? If something is greater than to another thing, isn't it? If a is greater than 0, or if a is greater than z, something like that. So if you want to, or age equal to something like, say for example, some numbers, if you can give age equal to 80, or age equal to 50. So based on your requirement, all these operators are required to write a program, or to deal with the programming concepts based on the requirement. Ultimately, if you may be having some requirements, based on that requirement you can make use of these operators. That is the meaning. There is nothing new concepts in this particular thing. Even Java supports all these operators. That is the meaning. Fine. Next thing is logical operators. So if you want to go for true value concepts or boolean concepts, true value or zeros and ones again, so logical operators are also required for the same. So don't get confused with the bitwise operator and logical operator. So in case of bitwise operators, you go for a double AND, isn't it? Double or double AND. Here you are going for single AND. So logical AND, logical or, XOR, or say I was telling in the initial explanation that there are some new operators which are introduced in Java. So that is nothing but short circuit OR. Can you see? Double or double AND, short circuit AND. Can you see that? So those concepts are new to Java. You cannot find such concepts in rest of the programming languages. Now you may say in C also we used, sir, double AND for comparing. So I will say the difference, actual difference here. In Java what happens, in rest of the programming language how it is. Okay, so there is nothing in the last. You can see ternary operators. I believe you would have used. I will give the example also in the later slides, but you can recall your previous programming concepts, because I'm pretty sure that you would have written so many programs in C and C++. So you would have used most of the program, these operators. So to deal with the class concepts, or object concepts, or if you have linked list concepts and all, you would have used some of the operators. Definitely almost 75% of the operators you would have used, but not with respect to bitwise concepts and all, because usually we don't deal with the binary concepts. Fine. The next thing is, say there is a table. It is nothing but a truth table, because whenever we are dealing with zeros and ones, or this logical operator concepts, so we will be writing some truth tables. So this table is called a truth table. Okay, so A and B, it is nothing but inputs. Say for example, A is an input and B is also an input. Fine. So we have some values over there. Can you see? False. So if you go for A or B, then the answer will be false. If you are going for A and B, answer will be false. A XOR, exclusive OR. So if you are going for A XOR B, again false. But if you are going for not, unary not, or not operator, then false will be true. Fine. So you are not comparing two inputs, only A. They have gone for not of A. That means whatever the value present in A, you have to write the opposite of that. If it is 0, you have to write 1. If it is 1, you have to write 0. If it is false, you have to write true. If it is true, you have to write false. So completely ulta value you have to write whenever you go for that negation concept. Fine. So in the second line you can see true, false is true, false. So you can recall that your logical concept, logical design, all in computer organization also you would have seen this, isn't it? That gates, AND gate, OR gate, in that concept you would have written all these things You have to recall all the previous, you have to brush up all the previous concepts. Okay, so I'm not going to explain in depth all this because you have already seen these concepts in the previous semesters. So in the next truth table also, instead of going for say the not symbol, exactly it has changed, isn't it? The symbol has changed over there. So that second truth table is for zeros and ones, so binary values. The first truth table is for boolean values, true or false. Okay, so this is, you can if you want, you can write it down, you can pause the video and you can see see the difference. There is no difference actually for the first table and second table, there is no difference, but in the first table they have gone for boolean, in the second table they have gone for binary. That's it. Fine, both are same. Fine. The next thing is short circuit logical operators. So let us see some of the difference. What is exactly difference? Okay, so Java provides two interesting Boolean operators not found in many other computer languages. These are secondary version of Boolean and or operator and are known as short circuit logical operator. So if someone asks what is this short circuit logical operator, you can say it is a next level version or updated version or secondary version of Boolean and or operators. Fine. So there is nothing big deal here. You are just giving some terminologies to the previous concepts which you have learned, but in different fashion. Okay, that's it. The second point is the AND operator results in false when A is false, no matter what B is. So you have to see the difference. So in this case, if one operator or A operator for whether if it is going for false, then definitely it will never check what is the other side of the input. Okay, what is the other side of operand or what is the other side of the expression. It will directly consider it as false. But in case but if you are going for the single AND operator, AND operator or single OR operator, that time you have to check both. Let me give one simple example over here. So if the condition is like, all these operators are required for conditional statements mainly. Okay, say for example the condition is if the person's age is below 50 and height is above 6. Consider it, if the age is below 50 and the height is above 6, then only you have to execute some code. If that is the condition, definitely how you are going to write it? If bracket age less than 50 and isn't and or a single and, what you are actually doing, you are going for single and, isn't it? Then height greater than 6. If that expression is true, if that condition is true, then only you are going to execute the following code. Otherwise you are going to neglect that particular thing and you are coming out of the condition, or you may write some else statements. So in the same fashion you are going for OR also, isn't it? Single OR, single and single OR. If in that case the computer consideration must be like both the operands. It has to see both the operands, both the side. It cannot neglect the another side. If one side is true, it cannot neglect another side if you are using one AND symbol. But in this case, in the short circuit logical operators, what you are doing, you are using double AND and double OR. That means if one part is false, it will never check the second part itself. It directly says it is a false. So you cannot use the double and double OR concept for your general conditional statements. It can be used only for the based on the requirements. If something like one part has to be, if one part is false, consider it as a false only. Don't even think about anything else. If the age is 50, execute the code. Don't even check for height. If that is the case, then only you can go for double ANDs or double. So for it is for AND concept. If you want to go for OR concept, again you can go for double, that dash OR. See, they have given, if you use the OR and forms rather than the single and single and OR forms of these operators, Java will not bother to evaluate the right hand operand when the outcome of the expression can be determined by left operand alone. That means one side, it will only check the left hand side's operand. It will never bother about the right hand. It will check only one concept. See in the last, and see I will show you the example also. See if denom is not equal to 0 and num by denom greater than 10. So if denom is not equal to 0 itself, it will continue with the execution. It won't check the second operand itself. So that means based on your requirement only you can make use of this double AND. Everywhere you can't use it. If the requirement is something like that, if the priority is for left hand itself, then you make use of double AND concept or double OR concept. Okay, so you may be thinking actually it is difficult to grasp the actual concept, how exactly to visualize. We can try to write a program itself instead of dry explanations or dry theoretical concepts. See, programming language is not like simple theory. You have to practice, you have to practically implement it, then only you can figure out. Fine. So if you cannot, try to write a program. If it is possible, if you have the resources, if you have the system, try to write the program. If you cannot, in the end of this particular chapter I will make one video of programming itself. I will upload it. You can, at least you can visualize, because I actually require everyone to make a hands-on, or I want everyone to execute this. But right now the situation is not like that, and some of you may not have the resources. So I will make separate programming video and upload it, so that you can at least visualize the actual concept. Fine. As of now, you think this much. You take these theoretical concepts in your head. Fine. After this, let me wind up. So this is a ternary operator here. So this is nothing special here. So if the first expression, see, can you see the syntax? Expression 1 question mark, expression 2 colon, expression 3. What is the meaning? If the expression 1 is true, then execute expression 2, or else execute expression 3, or evaluate. Instead of saying execution, I can say evaluation. So if the expression 1 is true, don't get confused. If the expression 1 is true, then evaluate expression 2, or else go for expression 3. You can just skip expression 2. Fine. There is one separate program. See, so there is a class with the name ternary, and you have main method, and you have two variables which has the caliber to store integer values. I and k are the variable names. So 10 is initialized to the variable I, and k is equal to I less than 0 question mark minus I colon I. So what is the meaning? So what is that minus I or dash I? So ultimately you are trying to get the absolute values. So whatever it may be the value, ultimately you have to get the positive one itself. Fine. So what is the value? Whether how it will be evaluated, how the program will get evaluated. So I value is 10, isn't it? Whether 10 is lesser than 0. No, right? Then definitely it will go for I, not for minus I, because it is false. The condition get false, isn't it? So directly it will jump to the last part, or expression, third expression, or 3. So it is going to print the output as absolute value of I is nothing but, or I is 10 is 10. It will print like 10 is 10. I see what is the value of I in the second print system.out.println statement. See, there is one spelling mistake also. Okay, so it is system.out.println, not just print. Okay, you have to go for, it is better, you can go for print line only, println. Fine. So next println, what you're trying to do, I plus in the double quotes is again plus and k. Why that every time that plus is popping out there? As I said, it is for string concatenation. If you want to make it as a particular sentence, then you have to go for plus. Now definitely you may ask, why we have to go for 2 lines system? In 1 line only can't we write? Definitely you can write, definitely. So that is what, one program can be written in many ways. Okay, 10 number of or n number of ways are there to write one program. It is up to you how you go. Fine. This is just for the explanation purpose. Fine. Initially I value will be 10. So 10 is, k also has the value 10. Why? After performing that operation expressions, so 10 will sit in k. So the output will be, for the first part, the output will be absolute value of 10 is 10. You are going to get the value, output like that. In the next line, in the next part, what we are doing, we are trying to initialize minus 10 to I. So now you are coming with the negative value minus 10 to I. Now again you are going to check k equal to I lesser than 0 or not. Isn't it? Minus 10 is lesser than 0. Isn't it? That means condition true. Correct? That particular condition is true, right? So if it is true, what it has to do? It has to go to expression 2. Isn't it? Based on the syntax I am talking, expression 2. That is nothing but minus I. The minus I has to execute. What is minus I? You are definitely going to get the absolute value of I. Minus 10, you are directly, if you are going for minus I, obviously I will be having minus 10, so minus I will be 10. Isn't it? Minus minus plus. Can you get, can you imagine the concept? So the k also will be having the value 10 now. 10 will be stored in k. Now what will be the output? In the first output was like absolute value of 10 is 10. What about the second output? Second output will be like absolute value of minus 10 is 10. Why minus 10? Because you initialize minus 10 to I in the above part. Can you see there? So output will be like absolute value of minus 10 is 10. Fine. So if you have any doubt here, if you have the system, I don't have any other option as of now. Just for the explanation, I put this PPT. So if you have the system, I request everyone to execute these programs so that you can identify actual difference between these ternary operators actually. Fine. So if you have any doubt, you can get back to me. If you get any errors, you can get back to me. So if you are using Linux, it will be easy because directly you can go with the terminal concepts. But if you do not have the Linux, or if you are using Windows, you can install JDK, or you can go with the Java platform, and you can use any IDEs. You can use Visual Studio also for running the Java programs. So if you have the system, if you have the resources, try to execute these programs, not just by seeing the PPTs or just by listening to the explanation. It is not at all enough with respect to programming. If you want to go with the different kind of programming, definitely you have to practice. Okay, so just by reading it won't get into your mind. Fine. So try to execute it. If you have any doubt, if you get the errors, get the screenshot to me. I will give the solution to you. No worries. So let me wind up the video here. So you will have some more operators, small concepts, not big concepts, small concepts, and you have some miscellaneous operators as well, isn't it? In this part, I'm going to skip that particular thing. In the next video, I will get back to you. So once the chapter finishes, if you do not, definitely most of you may not have the laptop, I guess, or system in your home. I will give one, I will make one video which will consist some of the operators, some of the rarely used operators, because normal operators you would have used already. Some rarely used operators, I will show how exactly you are going to get the output so that you can visualize the concept. Fine. So let me wind up here. Thanks for watching.